So often the stories we report on from this part of the world are grim. This is not one of them. This is a fascinating story where history, faith, and archaeology all intersect.
Josh Gates found something horrifying beneath the very ground where Jesus was crucified. And it wasn't just ancient relics, it was something alive. Was this a discovery of the past or something far more sinister in the present? Tune in as we reveal the terrifying truth that the church doesn't want you to know and left everyone shaken. Beneath the stones of a sacred church. For centuries, many have visited the site now covered by a beautiful church known as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Tourists and believers alike often come to touch the stone where it said Jesus' body was laid after the crucifixion. Josh set out to uncover the things lying just beneath our feet, things that have been hidden for almost 2,000 years. And trust me, this wasn't just any excavation. What they uncovered led to chills up the spine and more questions than answers. Before we delve into this, it's clear that what Josh uncovered beneath the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined, and it's only the beginning. Josh stood inside the church, surrounded by an atmosphere charged with awe and devotion. But he knew, none of these structures stood here in Jesus' time. It's all rebuilt on top of older ruins, adding layers of uncertainty. Was this really the site where Christ was crucified? Or was everything built on faith alone, without evidence? In the 2016 excavation, experts had only 60 hours to unravel the things beneath, and what they found was nothing short of earth-shattering. As marble slabs were removed, one layer led to another until they hit something unmistakable, a limestone bed, the supposed burial place of Jesus. It was untouched, perfectly preserved, and eerily similar to what ancient texts described. Suddenly, the whole place took on an almost otherworldly feel. The discovery of this limestone bed seemed to confirm that the burial cave was authentic, that maybe this sacred spot had been preserved accurately for all these centuries. Yet the deeper they went, the stranger the findings became. It wasn't just about verifying an ancient burial. It was also about what else was buried there, about what things remained just out of reach. And the chilling realization was that they might have only scratched the surface. With every step they took inside the Holy Sepulchre, Josh and his team came across symbols, items, and remnants that seemed to whisper things from the past. Relics from different eras showed that the place had been protected, revered, and fiercely contested. Each layer of brick and stone had a story to tell, and not all of those stories were comforting. The unsettling reality? Some of those stories might involve things that are much darker than mere relics or symbols. This wasn't just a place of hope. It also seemed to be a place that held on to pain and perhaps even curses through the ages. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre had seen countless reconstructions. Built, destroyed, and rebuilt again, it was a place where history itself seemed to be trapped between its walls. The weight of all those years pressed down on Josh as he continued his investigation. The limestone bed they uncovered was believed to be the final resting place of Jesus. But what lay beyond that? Each moment spent in that sacred space seemed to peel away a layer of the past, exposing something more ancient, more unsettling. The truth was far from simple. It was buried, hidden, layered beneath centuries of reverence and turmoil. The deeper they went, the more they realized that they were not just exploring a historical site, they were unraveling a tangled web of belief, myth, and forgotten truths. Some of the items they uncovered seemed to tell a story that was different from the one told in the scriptures. The symbols carved into the stones, the fragments of ancient artifacts, they all hinted at rituals, traditions, and perhaps even practices that had long been erased from official history. It was as if the church had been built not just to honor the past, but also to hide it. And just when you think that's the end of Josh's adventure, he finds himself in yet another terrifying situation, in a strange Knights Templar stronghold. Hidden away in an inaccessible tower, the stronghold had no staircase, only an electrical cable hanging from above. The structure felt haunted, almost as if the air itself was thick with the presence of knights long past. And as Josh descended into this forsaken tower, what he saw was enough to make even the bravest explorers pause. Strange symbols carved into the stone, niches in the walls that seemed to serve no purpose. The whole place felt wrong, eerie, as if it was never meant to be seen again. What Josh found under the church was only the start. His next steps led him to an ancient tower hiding stories no one expected to find, the tower with no doors. The tower itself was unlike anything they had encountered before. It stood as a testament to the secrecy and mystique of the Templars, an order that had always been shrouded in legend. The fact that there was no clear way in or out of the tower only added to its ominous presence. Josh could feel the history in the air, the kind of history that had been deliberately hidden away. The symbols carved into the walls were cryptic, unlike anything they had seen before, and they hinted at rituals that were far removed from the Templars' public image as defenders of the faith. It made Josh wonder, what was the real purpose of this place? One thing was certain. There were things here that didn't want to be found. The deeper they ventured, the stranger and more ominous their findings became. Josh stumbled upon a peculiar bat-shaped carving that seemed almost alive, watching them. But the real terror came when they found a hidden burial site outside the tower. The soil was different, darker, disturbed, indicating something had been buried, something important, and maybe even something sinister. Was it treasure? Was it something or someone that the Templars wanted to keep hidden from the world? Digging through the dark earth, they found artifacts, coins, bones, relics from centuries past. One of these bones was particularly strange. Its position, the way it was facing, everything about it screamed that it was no ordinary burial. Could this be a Knight Templar? Maybe someone significant to the order. The chilling part is, it might even be someone whose story was never meant to be told, someone who was hidden away because they knew too much. The burial site was more than just a resting place. It was a statement. Whoever was buried there was meant to be forgotten, erased from the annals of history. The artifacts they found, coins from different periods, fragments of armor, and strange symbols carved into stones, all pointed to a deliberate attempt to conceal the identity of the person buried there. Josh and his team couldn't help but wonder if they were treading on dangerous ground. The sense of unease grew with each new discovery, as if they were unearthing something that was never meant to be found. Every twist in this adventure reveals another layer of horror, a forgotten tomb beneath the holiest site in Christianity, a dark and strange tower of the Templars, and a hidden burial ground that could rewrite history. Each discovery made Josh and his team wonder if they were truly prepared for what lay ahead. Because the reality is, some things are buried for a reason, and maybe, just maybe, they should stay that way. The deeper Josh and his team dug, the more questions arose. The Knights Templar had always been a subject of fascination. Their rise to power, their sudden downfall, and the rumors of hidden treasures and dark rituals. This tower, with its cryptic carvings and hidden burial, seemed to confirm some of the darker theories about the Templars. It wasn't just about defending pilgrims or fighting in the Crusades. There was something else, something that had been carefully hidden away, and Josh was getting dangerously close to uncovering it. Josh's journey is far from over. Next, he plans to tackle something even more daunting, the Enigma codes from World War II, codes that have never been broken. If you thought the past was terrifying, wait until you see what's still hidden from our recent history. Could he uncover one of the last great things of the war? Stay with us because this journey is only getting darker, stranger, and more dangerous. The Enigma codes were used by the German military during World War II to encrypt their most sensitive communications. While many of these codes were cracked by the Allies, there are still some that remain a question. Josh was determined to uncover the truth behind these unbroken codes, to find out what things they held. The journey took him to the ruins of old Nazi fortresses, places that still held the echoes of the past. The ruins were eerie, desolate, and filled with reminders of a dark chapter in human history. The strange symbols and objects in the Templar Tower were unsettling, but what came next? A fortress full of wartime clues. Lost codes found in a broken fortress. Josh walked through the deserted halls of the fortress, his footsteps echoing off the crumbling walls. The air was thick with the weight of history, and it felt as if the past was watching him. The fortress had been heavily bombed during the war, and much of it was in ruins. But hidden beneath the rubble were rooms that had remained untouched for decades. As Josh and his team ventured deeper into the underground chambers, they came across something unexpected. burnt papers with strange symbols and codes. The papers were fragile, falling apart at the slightest touch, but what little they could decipher hinted at something significant. The codes were unlike anything they had seen before, and they appeared to be connected to the Enigma machine. The Enigma was a complex encryption device used by the Nazis, and cracking its codes had been a major victory for the Allies. But these papers suggested that there were still things left to uncover, things that might change our understanding of the war. Among the artifacts they found were helmets, gas masks, and high-voltage equipment. The presence of the equipment suggested that this room had been important, possibly a command center. The discovery of the burnt papers only added to the question. Could these be the missing pieces of the Enigma problem? The thought sent chills down Josh's spine. The Enigma codes had been one of the most closely guarded things of the Nazis, and if there were still unbroken codes, what could they reveal? The more they uncovered, the more unsettling the fortress became. The rooms were filled with relics of the past, bottles, coffee cups, cooking pots, everyday items that hinted at the lives of the soldiers who had once lived there. It was as if time had stopped, and the ghosts of the past were still lingering, watching them. The deeper they went, the more they felt that they were not alone. There was an unshakable feeling that something, or someone, was still there, hidden in the shadows. The discovery of non-magnetic gas masks suggested that there had been a radio station nearby. These masks were issued to people working near radio frequencies to avoid interference. It was yet another clue that pointed to the importance of this place. The burnt papers, the equipment, the gas masks, everything suggested that this was no ordinary fortress. It had been a hub of activity, a place where things were kept, and perhaps even where some of the darkest plans of the Nazis were conceived. Josh and his crew were pretty sure they had stumbled onto something huge. As they sifted through the old fortress, piece by piece, they began to uncover hints that this place was a goldmine of information about World War II. Charred documents and odd sequences of codes suggested that significant activities had taken place here, all shrouded in silence for decades. The more they found, the more they realized that whatever was hidden here was meant to stay hidden. The presence of old, high-powered equipment added to the suspense, pointing to something much bigger and more important than they initially thought. This discovery wasn't just about finding relics. It felt like they were piecing together a forgotten chapter of history. Each artifact, each coded message they deciphered, seemed to connect distant events and places, from the ancient tombs under Jerusalem to the lost towers built by the Templars. These weren't just old stones and forgotten texts. They were links to a much larger story that had been deliberately kept out of the history books. But with every new finding, the air around them grew heavier. The shadows seemed darker. What were these clues really pointing to? Was it merely a forgotten piece of history or something more ominous? The deeper they dug, the more they wondered if they were ready to face the truths buried in these ruins. The realization was chilling. History is not just about the past, it's a mirror reflecting our darkest capabilities and the lengths to which people will go to keep them hidden. Now, standing at the edge of a potentially groundbreaking revelation, Josh and his team had to decide, is it always better to shine a light on the past? Or are there some things so dark that they should remain buried? The findings in the old fortress were amazing, but the wonders of the past go back even further to strange places and creations we still don't understand. The stones that defy time and logic. The ancient world was full of strange events and incredible creations that still leave experts scratching their heads. From massive stone carvings that can only be understood from the sky to entire cities disappearing without a trace, history holds many riddles. Let's explore some of these unsolved wonders, the ones that make us question how much we really know about the past. These aren't just dusty relics. They're reminders of how little we truly understand about our ancestors. What if the past was way stranger than we could imagine? One of the most strange things ever found is the Nazca lines in Peru. Imagine someone carving huge pictures of animals, plants, and shapes into the ground about 2,000 years ago. These geoglyphs cover vast areas of the desert, but the weirdest thing is you can only see them properly from way up in the sky. That leaves us wondering, how did people back then manage to create such accurate drawings without being able to fly? Some say they were part of religious rituals. Others think they were used to understand the stars. or maybe even find water. But why go through all that effort, and how did they even pull it off? Join us. Could these be messages meant for someone not walking on Earth? Next up, we've got Stonehenge in England. You know those huge stones standing in a circle? Well, they're older than many written histories, dating back to around 2500 BCE. Some of those stones are 25 tons heavy, and the real problem is how they got there. It's not like they had cranes or trucks back then. Some believe it was a ceremonial place. Others think it was some sort of early calendar or observatory. But here's the kicker. We still don't know for sure. What if we're looking at the leftovers of some kind of lost technology? Join us. Could there be more to this place than just some old rocks in a field? Let's not forget the famous Great Pyramids of Giza. These massive monuments were built with incredible precision over 4,000 years ago. Each stone block is perfectly placed, and some weigh as much as 40 tons. How could people without modern machines cut, move, and fit those stones so flawlessly? There are ideas like they used ramps or that thousands of workers toiled day and night. But none of these theories fully add up. The real truth behind how they were built is still lost. Join us. Could the methods they used have been something entirely beyond our understanding? Speaking of lost places, there's Atlantis, the legendary island mentioned by Plato. According to the story, it was a powerful nation that vanished into the ocean overnight. People have searched for Atlantis for centuries, and no one's ever found it. Was it just a story? Or could there have been a real advanced civilization that got wiped out? Maybe the truth is hidden somewhere under the sea, waiting for us to find it. Join us. Could Atlantis be the real reason why certain parts of the ocean still seem so strange? The Antikythera mechanism is another head-scratcher. This complex device, pulled out of a shipwreck in Greece, is over 2,000 years old. Imagine an ancient computer that could predict eclipses and the movements of planets. The craftsmanship and knowledge that went into making this device are incredible. How did ancient people have the know-how to build something so advanced? Some say it's proof that the ancient Greeks were far ahead of their time. Join us. Could there be other hidden devices from the past that we haven't found yet? In North America, the ancestral Puebloans suddenly disappeared from the Four Corners area of the United States during the 13th century. They were known for building impressive stone houses into the sides of cliffs, with complex farming methods that allowed them to survive in harsh conditions. But then they just left. Some think it was a drought, others say it was a conflict, but there's no clear answer, and the silence of their departure echoes across the canyons they once called home. Join us. Could there be something even more unsettling behind their disappearance? Ever heard of the Sea Peoples? Around 1200 BCE, these strange groups brought chaos to ancient civilizations across the Mediterranean. They toppled cities, disrupted trade, and left a mark that would be felt for generations. But who were they, and why did they cause so much destruction? We have records from the Egyptians, but even they were unclear about where these people came from or what drove them. Some say they were refugees. Others think they were raiders seeking new land. Join us. Could their story hold clues to our own future? Then there's the Voynich manuscript, a book written in the early 15th century that no one can read. It's full of strange symbols, weird diagrams, and drawings of plants that don't exist. Cryptographers and linguists have tried for years to crack its code, but still, no one has a clue what it says. Was it just a prank by someone from long ago? Or could it be an ancient guide to something we've forgotten how to understand? Join us. Could this undeciphered book be holding things about life itself? The Moai statues on Easter Island are another unsolved wonder. These massive stone heads were carved by the Rapa Nui people. But how did they move these statues, some of which weigh over 80 tons, across the island without modern technology? Theories range from using wooden rollers to walking them upright with ropes. But no one knows for sure, and that's what makes it so interesting. Join us. Did the islanders have a hidden technique that we've never discovered? These ancient questions aren't just interesting stories from long ago. They remind us that the people of the past were capable of amazing things that we still struggle to understand. Could it be that they knew things we've completely forgotten? Could the things of our future be hidden in the riddles of our past? Could Josh Gates' horrifying discovery be a warning from the past? Or is it something far more sinister happening now? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.